Hello everyone and welcome back to Scandinavian Design 101. I'm Sanna.
I'm Andreas and we are two Swedes and we love design.
Yes.
And today we're going to show you some cool pieces of design by the relatively unknown Swedish designer and artist Folke Jansson. And very little is known about him, and that's really strange considering he created some of the most spectacular pieces of furniture ever produced in Sweden. Mm-hmm. Perhaps they were a bit too extreme for the general public at the time and were only produced in small numbers, but nowadays furniture by Jansson are sought after on the second-hand market.
Of course they are.
Yes.
Jansson was born in the southern Swedish town of Skövde in 1920 and became a recognized sculptor and engraver in the 1940s. At the time, he was also practicing as a wood carver. His career as a furniture designer started by coincidence when he wanted a new chair for himself, but wanted something different than all the square boxes available at the market. Instead, he decided to make one himself and started sketching. He was, after a lot of failed attempts, finally satisfied with the drawing of a futuristic creation constructed from a continuous line forming the whole chair. Filled with confidence, he made a small-scale model out of clay and showed it to the local furniture manufacturer SM Vinkrantz.
Yeah.
They were mostly producing traditional furniture but agreed to give it a shot. Making a detailed sketch of the chair good enough for the carpenters to use turned out to be close to impossible due to the complex shape. Instead, Jansson created a full-size model using papier-mâché and chicken wire. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
You did that when you went to daycare when you were little.
Yeah.
It was fun. In 1955, the chair was finally ready and shown to the public at the Gothenburg Furniture Fair.
Yeah. And it was named Arabesque after a posture in ballet in which the body is bent forward with one arm extended forward and the other arm and the legs backward. And you can understand that a bit when you see the chair because it looks a bit like that posture.
Yeah.
The almost cartoonish looking chair got a lot of attention in the press, and suddenly the artist Jansson was an established furniture designer. Sadly, the Arabesque didn't suit the taste of the general public, and only about 100 of them were ever produced at the Vinkrantz factory. A matching sofa was also developed, but only a handful of those were produced, I think like 4 or 5.
Oh.
Since a couple of years back, they're yet again in production, and this time by the company Jonas Ireborn. A vintage Arabesque is a rare find on the second-hand market, of course, and if you're lucky to find one, you will probably have to pay well over like $1,000 or so for it. But that's actually cheap, considering a new Arabesque in the furniture store will set you back almost $5,000.
Oh.
Yes, of course you want an old one if you can get one.
Obviously. Arabesque was never a commercial success, but brought a lot of good publicity to the Vinkrantz factory. Soon Jansson was asked to design more furniture for the company, and in the following years he continued experimenting with extreme shapes and almost impossible constructions. But of course he also designed pieces more suitable for the average customer in the furniture store. They wanted to sell.
Yeah, of course.
Already in the fall of 1955, he developed the organic sofa and easy chair Telus. It resembled other sofas already on the market, but was sleeker and somewhat more futuristic. The shape was based on the sphere when it came to the backrest as well as the small ball-shaped feet.
Yeah, they are cute.
Yeah. Suddenly, furniture by Jansson started to appear in homes around the country. Excited by the success, 2 new models were introduced in 1957, the Cosmos and Orion. Very space theme.
Yeah.
Both of them highly similar to Telus. These models appear from time to time on the second-hand market, often confused with each other because of the resemblance.
Yeah, they're hard to see the difference sometimes.
Kind of strange.
Yeah.
Prices differ a lot, but you should be prepared to pay around $1,000 if you want a sofa and somewhat less for the easy chairs.
Yeah. And in 1956, he came up with the idea of creating a small chair with an oversized backrest. And the result was the prototype Myggan, or Mosquito.
Yeah. Before or after the other Mosquito?
It was
almost
simultaneously a bit before, I think, or perhaps the same year. I'm not sure. We're gonna have to look up when Arne Jacobsen designed his Mosquito. Yeah. And this model, or more of a prototype, was exhibited at the Swedish Furniture Fair in 1957. And sadly, it wasn't put into mass production, and probably Wienckrantz had their doubts if such a strange-looking chair actually would sell. Mm-hmm. And Jansson kept the prototype in his own home for the rest of its life, and after his death, the prototype was sold by the auction house Bukowski's for as little as $730. And that's must be considered a bargain, I think. Yeah, it's a really cool chair. And even though it wasn't put into production, Myggan made an impact on the Swedish Furniture Fair and inspired several other manufacturers. And one example is the similar-looking wing, launched 1 year later by the small manufacturer S. Ljungqvist Möbelfabrik. And it's sometimes wrongfully attributed to Folke Jansson, but he had obviously nothing to do with that model.
In 1957, the geometric sofa, or perhaps chaise lounge, facette was born. When designing it, Jansson played with geometric shapes and created a piece of furniture that looked like nothing the Swedish audience have never seen before.
No.
Commercially, it was a failure, and only 8 of them were ever made. As with the Arabesque, this sofa is nowadays in production by Ireborn. That's fun.
Yeah.
The model is obviously rarely seen on the second-hand market.
No.
In 2014, one was sold for $2,300 by the American auction house Wright.
Yeah, they are mainly sold abroad by some reason. Perhaps you can get more money outside the country for them. Yeah, I'm not sure.
And sadly, we haven't been able to find the retail price for the new sofas.
No. And it is difficult to find information about Jansson's further life and career. And he was apparently still collaborating with Wienckrantz in the mid-60s when he helped out redesigning the Rondo swivel chair. And it was originally designed by Sven M. Wienckrantz himself. Yeah, the owner of the company. Yeah. It was designed in 1964, but it didn't become a commercial success until Folke Jansson gave it a somewhat bolder shape, like wider armrests and so on. Jansson wasn't given credit for his work, and a bitter conflict started, so it's quite safe to assume that the collaboration between the two came to an end during this time.
Yeah.
In the mid-70s, Jansson initiated a collaboration with a nowadays forgotten manufacturer, Futura Möbler, and some of his new designs were exhibited in Cologne in 1974. Commercially, this collaboration couldn't have been a success since very little can be found about this furniture, like nothing online. And we haven't even been able to find pictures of them, so sorry. But Folke Jansson, finally, he died in 2017 at the age of 97. And that's all we know about him, actually. And hope you found this video interesting.
Yeah,
and
he's a fun designer.
Yeah, and really interesting furniture, especially the Arabesque, of course. And it's featured at the Vitra Design Museum.
That's something.
Yeah. And if you like this video, you should check out our previous videos. We have a lot of videos there.
We should.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.